So, first of all, Barry, I was reading something, and you may not be aware of this, but do you know how many Jewish people there are in Ireland?
Not at all.
Yeah, so there's about 2,000 people. About 8 years ago, there were about like 2,500 people. And my theory is that the reason the number has declined is because Jewish people like to be successful. But jumping into the ocean in the morning, every morning, as a measure of success, I think we all just said, we'll go somewhere else. So tell me, not only how did you get started with that habit, but more importantly, seems like you spend an incredible amount of time with your team, and then you talk about not getting in the way of your team, et cetera. How do you interact? How do you lead? And as you said, you're not necessarily an engineer or the smartest person in the room, which none of us ever are, but how do you work with your team, and how did you become successful in that regard?
So I think there's a couple of things. I think if you're with a team of people, if you have real good fun, we call it crack in Ireland, so C-R-A-I-C. So we always have the crack in Cubic. So you have to have the energy. And I think then if you put a group of people together and you have a real clear vision and you can describe that, and you bring those people together, that's where the energy starts. That's where the fun starts. Once you start getting that passion in there, you can drive people, you can do absolutely anything. So for us in Cubic, no is not an option. That's the first thing that we always say. I think as an entrepreneur, when someone says you can't do that, you ask the question why, and then that drive comes. I think the one thing for me becoming the CEO of Cubic is how do I drive other people? And now we're in the connected car space, so drive kind of connected in all of that together. I think it became really good fun. So I think having those people that are there, and the really clever people, so everybody that's on my team has a master's degree, which is something that I don't have. So I had to learn to listen to them and really tune in, and then get out of their way and let them excel. So really start pushing them.
That's great. And Lateefa, I want to ask you, because you've been a pioneer in just about everything I can think of. And I mean, being a female entrepreneur in Saudi Arabia, and then being the first woman on the board of the Riyadh Chamber of Commerce, being the managing director of Endeavor Saudi Arabia. I mean, what advice do you have for other people who are trying to break through and create an opportunity that may not seem obvious to them?
Thank you, Edgar. I guess when I started Yatooq, I wasn't trying to be the first female. I simply wanted to be an entrepreneur. And as you said, at a certain point in my life, they used to say, no, you can't. And the moment you as a person have this conviction that you can, that's what's important. How can you believe and self-confidence, and especially for females and women? I think that's the key for people to come to overcome any kind of barrier. If you do truly believe that you can, you will do it.
And that opportunity has changed, has it not, in KSA in the kingdom for women?
Absolutely. The KSA we live today is totally different than what it used to be 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. And I'm so glad that Layla, my daughter, truly has no boundaries in front of her to be what she is. Today, Edgar, we moved in just a few years from 7% of female employment to 35% of female employment, which is incredible. And I think, and we also have equal pay for females compared to other economies where that's not the case. So we're catching up really quick, and truly there is no, we haven't seen female ministers yet, but hopefully soon.
It'll come soon, I'm sure.
Inshallah.
So you both completed the circle, as Ed was talking about. Barry as a board member, you as managing director of Endeavor Saudi Arabia. Why is it important, Barry, first with you, to pay it forward? And how do you think about what paying forward means?
So I think as an entrepreneur, we fail, and with that resilience of that failure is not an option. So when something is there during a funding round or when you're scaling your team, it's a very lonely place at times, either being a CEO or being an entrepreneur, and you can't turn to someone and say, how do you help it? Because it's kind of in us not to do that. I think the great thing about Endeavour for me was that whole pay it forward. So there's a lot of programs in the world that come to you and they approach you. And then I got recommended into Endeavour, and I absolutely am a big supporter of it. And the reason for that is there's so many people in the community that you can reach out to. You can have a conversation. So that vulnerability as a CEO or someone leading a company is there. They've been on that journey. And the one thing for me was I failed so many times at so many things. Okay. And then being in a room and sitting with people that were like-minded going, you think you fucked that up? I fucked it up even worse. So I think that's the great thing about Endeavour. We were in the crypt in Dublin. I think Linda is absolutely crazy. I said she's the most craziest female that I've ever met. She did this 27 years ago. It just shows you from the starting of Endeavour that the passion was there. And having that opportunity to sit down with like-minded individuals and say, look, I failed. So the one thing for me coming onto the board of Endeavour was to be really clear, to fail faster, talk to the next set of entrepreneurs and help them as quick as we could.
Well, we're on a tight time frame, but I want to ask you the same question in terms of how you think about paying it forward.
Well, I always say at doing what we do at Endeavour is a privilege. And Endeavour is a platform where your impact can transcend just your own small circle or the circle of your family and friends and people you work with, where your impact can go beyond that to the whole community, to the whole country, to the world. And Endeavour is a platform that enables us as team members, as entrepreneurs, as board members, as mentors, to have that impact transcend ourselves. That's why it's valuable.
Unfortunately, our time is up and the red light's flashing, but everyone, Lateefa, Barry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.